couple of things that firefighters do really well. One, of course, is saving lives. The other, you might not have thought of this, cooking for a crowd and cooking really good food. So we're here at Station 70 Spring Fire Department, just north of Houston, Texas, to talk brisket, Texas style. Y'all come along. Oh, that glorious smoky smell in here. Captain Tim Weiman, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
What an honor to be here and learn a little bit about what is your expertise, which is barbecue and especially brisket. Tell me a little bit about what we're going to be doing today.
Today we're going to be cooking smoking a Texas style brisket.
Awesome. All right.
Go through that process.
Perfect. So talk to me about the grill and the wood, because I know it's important.
Brisket is supposed to be cooked low and slow, so you use a smoker barbecue pit. My number one is post oak as my most preferred wood.
Okay.
After post oak, I like mesquite, and then after mesquite, I'll do red oak.
So those flavors are kind of absorbed into the
And
meat.
it also goes into a lot what kind of seasonings you're using.
Right.
Some people like a sweeter meat. So like pork, for instance, you want to use a fruit wood. Fruit wood goes really well with pork, because with pork you also use brown sugar and things like that.
Now, to keep it low and slow, do you use any kind of app on your phone, or is there some kind of timer? Are you just old school, like you just...
Old school, I watch the thermometer and watch the clock.
Okay, so you really have to babysit this. What happens if you get a call?
That's something that we might have to deal with. If we catch a call, we leave, we have to go.
You were telling me something interesting about the fire station and how it's set up. And you've got this special technology that's built in right off the kitchen. And tell me a little bit about how that works.
The natural gas is also tied into the alert system. So when a call comes in, the alert system goes off, all the natural gas shuts off.
Interesting.
So you never have to worry about burning the pan or burning the pot.
Because you're not necessarily leaving one person behind. Everybody goes. How long does it take, start to finish, to get this brisket ready to roll and ready to eat?
Start to finish really depends on how big of a piece of meat you have. But with this one, we'd probably say about 10 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
It's an all-day affair.
That is an all-day affair. And I think this is probably one of the station favorites, I'm guessing.
It usually is, yeah.
Okay, and why is that?
It feeds a lot of people, and it's good for leftovers. So we work 48-hour shifts, so 2 days in a row. So we cook a brisket on the first day. Second day, we can make tacos. We can use it for breakfast.
So good. All right, so let's get right to getting this prepared. Talk to me a little bit about the art of smoking brisket.
So brisket can be pretty intimidating if you've never done one before.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I promise it's not. After you've done it a couple times, you can really get the hang of things and get going.
Okay.
So when you're looking at a brisket, obviously you want fat. Fat is flavor. But you don't want too much fat. You don't want gristle. You want the meat.
Okay.
So you can see the marbling in the brisket. That's the fat inside the meat. That all looks pretty good. Now we've got some extra fat on top here, and we're going to trim that off here in a minute.
Okay.
And we'll see what the finished product is going to look like before we put the seasoning on.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, let's get to trimming.
All right.
We got our gloves to kind of make this a little bit easier for you here.
At home, you don't have to wear gloves. I've started to wear gloves at home because it's easier than washing your hands 15, 20 times.
Now, where'd you learn to do all this?
My dad mostly.
Really?
My dad's the one that taught me.
Just growing up, how often would he get a brisket ready? What was that like?
I feel like we did brisket once a week when I was a kid.
Kidding, really?
My dad taught me most of this, and then I pick up little tidbits here and there from other people.
So you just would kind of observe from afar, or would he say, get over here, I'm going to show you how to do this right?
When I was younger, I would just watch, but as I got older, he would include me on it.
Now, do you have a secret family recipe when it comes to the seasoning or the...
No, not really secret. The recipe for the seasoning that we're going to use today is, it's pretty generic. It was taught to me by another firefighter, and that's the recipe that we use at the station, and then with our cook-off team, if we're doing any type of benefit or fundraiser or anything like that.
So with your cook-off team, tell me about that. Rafter 7, right?
Rafter 7.
Okay, and what do you guys do with that? Where do you go to compete?
So we compete, our main cook-off every year is at the Texas Association of First Responders Cook-Off.
Okay.
And that is a charity cook-off. It benefits law enforcement, fire, and EMS that have been injured in the line of duty.
So how many briskets? Will you do brisket at that?
We'll do brisket, chicken, pork ribs, wild game.
Oh, wow. Is this your favorite thing to cook?
Brisket is probably one of my favorite things to cook.
What is it? Just the challenge? I mean, does it come out different every time, or what are you going for?
It's just Texas things, tradition.
Now, have you passed this on? I love that. Have you passed this on to other firefighters?
Absolutely. Anybody that wants to learn, I'll teach them.
What about, are there any that aren't from Texas or maybe from the United States? And
I have a guy at my station that's from Connecticut, and I taught him how to make barbecue ribs yesterday, actually.
No kidding. How cool is that? And then tell me a little bit about the culture in the firehouse. I mean, you guys sit down and eat your meals together. You go shopping together. I think that's really important because you guys really are a family outside of your own homes.
Like I said, we work 48-hour shifts, so we're with each other for 2 days in a row, every 4 days. So it's really important. We're a team, we're a family, we're a crew.
What are you doing with all of the leftover fat? Is there anything you can do with that?
I don't do anything with it. Yeah. Some people will render it down and make a mop out of it. I don't do that, but that's an option for the people watching at home.
A mop as in?
They can render this down into a liquid, add some seasonings, and then as their brisket's cooking, they continue to brush it on.
Okay, so are we good here?
We're good here.
Okay, now what?
Now we're going to do the seasoning.
All right, this is where it's at, right? I'd say it's mostly at getting the right temperature and keeping it there.
Seasoning is a big thing to do with it. So these, like I said, this is a recipe that was taught to me by another firefighter. And all you'll use is this Fiesta brand Fajita seasoning.
Okay.
And not advertising for them per se, but I like Fiesta because you can find it at most major grocery stores.
Excellent.
So if we're doing a cook-off in far west Texas, I can find Fiesta brand at the local grocery store.
Okay, awesome.
And paprika. Interesting.
Paprika adds a pretty unique flavor profile and some pretty cool color.
So how much of each are you going to use? Is it like a third of this and then more of that, or are you just kind of mixing it?
Eyeball
really?
it.
Okay.
About half of this container.
Okay.
About half of this one.
Oh, it smells so good. Whoa, it just attacked my senses. Now when you go to apply it to the brisket, to this cut of meat, are you going to massage it in? Or are you just kind of shaking it on?
It's you shake it on and then you pat it. People call it a rub, but you're not really rubbing the meat, you're more patting it.
Okay.
This is just our go-to recipe. There's nothing secret about it. But of course everybody's got different tastes.
Now, can you do a brisket with a liquid marinade?
You can do a liquid marinade. There's a couple different companies that make it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people like to brine their briskets, which that's something I don't really mess with, but other people do.
Okay. Interesting. All right, so let's see how you apply this, and then after that, you're just going to go take it right out to the grill, right?
Take it out to the pit, barbecue pit. Yeah.
Excuse me.
A grill is what you cook hamburgers on.
I should know better. I'm Texan over here. I'm not doing it justice.
We'll be back in a minute with more Hot Eats.
The bonds of fellowship are one of the fundamental cornerstones of human society. Every culture that is, or has ever been, has based the value of their existence on wars they waged, the art they created, and the dishes they served. So is the story of the American experience, a culturally chaotic land of misfits whose most unifying moments often come at the dinner table. And of all the old world methods of creating meals, only one encompasses American unity. It's the time spent on a grill and the food pulled from it.
You mentioned earlier that this is something you just grew up doing. This was your culture in your home with your family, especially your dad. But what do you do outside the firehouse? It's very interesting.
I spend most of my time outdoors, outside of the fire station. Big outdoorsman. I hunt, I fish, and what I do on the side is I raise cattle. I'm a cattle rancher.
So you know what really goes into getting that
into getting the final product.
And especially what goes into the fat. I mean, it matters what the cattle's eating.
Absolutely.
And what kind of physical activity they're getting.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a labor of love from start to finish. It really is. There's so much more that goes into it than just slapping a big hunk of meat on the smoker. I mean,
absolutely. And from a producer standpoint, I mean, a big thing that we do that we kind of preach through beef quality assurance, BQA, is cattle first. Always put your cattle first.
Wow.
Because if we're not putting our cattle first, one, the animal's not healthy. That's not humane. That's not right. And also, you're not putting a good product out to the consumer.
Right.
If you're getting bad beef consistently, you're going to stop buying beef.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So once we get the rest of the seasoning on, it's going to sit on that grill for the next 10-ish hours.
10-ish.
And your temperature, it's got to be perfect, right?
Temperature can be a little forgiving, but not much. I try to keep my pit between 250 and 300.
Okay, interesting. And then
if it gets a little hot, that's okay. Move it away from the fire. If it gets too cold, stoke your fire up.
Okay.
And of course, this isn't the only way to do a brisket. In my opinion, this is the best way. But for the folks that don't have a barbecue pit, you can do it on like a pellet smoker, like a Traeger or a Pit Boss. You can even season it like this, put it in the pan, and put it in the oven.
Oh, right.
And so folks that live in an apartment or don't want to have a barbecue pit, you can get liquid smoke at the store, add a little liquid smoke to the bottom of your pan, and you'll get not quite the same, but pretty close. Now, if you notice when I flipped this over, I flipped it fat side up, the fat cap up. So whenever you cook your brisket, you always cook it fat side up.
Okay.
Because the fat's going to cook, it's going to heat, and it's going to melt through the fibers of the meat themselves.
I mean, this is information that is like priceless right now. Okay, so fat cap up, we've got the seasoning, applied to both sides. And is there anything else that you can kind of help someone get through the painstaking situation that maybe you've been in once or twice where you
watch your fire.
Okay.
Watch your fire, check on your fire consistently. Watch the weather too.
How's the weather play a role?
If it's too cold outside, your pit's going to adjust accordingly. If it's raining, your pit's going to get colder, and you're going to get wet and miserable.
Wow, so you've really just got to keep an eye on it.
Got to keep an eye on it.
All right, let's get this labor and love out to the pit now, and man, I can't wait to try this thing. This station, Station 70, where we are now, has some really unique apparatus, especially when it comes to training, because that's a huge part of what you guys do here. Can you walk me through some of the interesting things that you have here that aren't at every fire station?
Sure. Well, this station is really unique because it has a confined space maze. That is a big confidence builder for firefighters, new and not new. Good for learning your equipment, learning your gear, your SCBA, things like that. As far as the apparatus goes, this station has a tower, it has a booster or a brush truck used for grass fires, and that brush truck also responds to medical emergencies. And then it also has a heavy utility vehicle, which is used for high water rescue. When it's not being used for high water rescue, it's used as a blocking apparatus on the freeway.
Excellent information. Can I check them out?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go. Hot Eats will be back in 1 minute.
It is Texas law that all drivers must safely move over when a fire truck is behind them. And when passing any stopped emergency vehicle, all drivers must slow down to 20 miles an hour below the speed limit. Fines start at $200, but if someone is injured because a driver refused to move over or slow down, fines can balloon to $2,000 and a judge can order jail time. So please, move over or slow down.
Thank you, Planet Ford, for being a proud community sponsor of the Spring Fire Department.
Grill Your Ass Off has one simple mission: continued camaraderie. Whether it be the labels that bring you a smile or names that bring a personal connection to your times in service. At the end of the day, we want you to be there with your family and good food. Because we all know, no matter what the race, politics, or thoughts, good food brings all Americans together.
Tell me your full title.
I am Apparatus Operator Daniel McCune.
Okay, so what does that mean, apparatus operator?
I'm responsible for the operation of the trucks, getting the trucks safely to the scene of emergencies, and operating the trucks at emergencies.
Okay, and this is not your ordinary truck. This is
not an ordinary truck.
Monster truck. So not every fire station has this truck.
No.
This is an amazing machine. What are the general stats of this truck?
So this is Tower 70. This is a 2016 Pierce, what we call Velocity cab. She's 47 feet long. She weighs 82,000 pounds.
I don't know how you drive it. I mean, that is, and you're trying to do this under pressure, or you're trying to get there fast and be efficient, and it's, wow.
This is our only aerial device at this time. We have a second one that is currently at Station 75. It's a smaller truck, but it has the same reach capabilities as this truck. So the apparatus has a 100-foot, what we call a stick, on top with a basket. So this will reach out 100 feet vertically and it'll reach out 95 feet horizontally.
What is the difference between the tower truck and a ladder truck?
So the difference between a tower and a ladder is a tower truck has what we call the bucket. So it has this basket on the front, which is 2 to 3 people can be inside and they can stand up there. Whereas a ladder is just what we call straight stick, and it has no bucket, and it's just you walk straight up it and you're able to walk right off of it.
Why is it important here at Station 70?
So here at Station 70 with Springwoods Village, we have a lot of what we call mid-rise buildings. So they're about 5 to 12 stories, and we have hotels, businesses like Exxon, American Bureau of Shipping, and this allows us to get to the roof and allows us to get to upper floors.
So you could pull someone out of a building, that's the purpose of the bucket.
Yes.
And get them into this portion safely.
Yes, this allows us to perform rescues a lot easier than off a ladder truck.
Let's take a look at everything it has on it.
Okay.
Show me around.
All right.
So the first stop is here where there's lots of gears and buttons and gauges. What do you call this?
This is called the pump panel.
Okay.
So behind here is the fire pump where we use to pump water on either through the stick or through the hose lines. So right here is what we call the intake. This is where water comes in, goes into the fire pump back here. This is all the different hand lines that we have. We have 2 hand lines here, which is these 2 right here. And then we have a large diameter discharge on the other side. And then we have 2 smaller ones over here. And then this right here is what controls the aerial device.
So I'm seeing water foam also. So this is also where the foam comes out. I know.
Yes. Yeah, we have 275 gallons of water on this truck and 25 gallons of foam. So any ones that say foam on them allows me to put foam into that line so they can put it on the fire.
So moving down from this panel, what's next?
So this is what we call the EOS compartment. So in here I have my gear, which I'll take out to show you what's behind my gear. I also have my air pack. And then in here is all the tools that are necessary for me to help me do my job. So different adapters, so if I need to make smaller hoses to larger hoses to smaller hoses, if I need to connect multiple hoses, I can do all that from here.
Oxygen tank, is that?
Yes, this is my oxygen tank that I use for when go into a fire.
Wow. Now, are you the only person that knows how to do all of this?
No, we have, all of us are all cross-trained so we can help each other out.
It's an insanely well-oiled machine, how you guys orchestrate all of this.
Yes.
It's incredible to me. So are you here every single day, or do you follow the same 48-hour shift?
Same 48-hour shift.
I see. And then, so then someone else will come in for the next shift that has the same exact job title as you. Okay, so moving on from here, the next section, I mean, this is just...
So we come here.
Wow.
This is full of the hand tools that we need. So what we call the irons is what we call a Halligan bar. So this is one piece of it. It's a little heavy.
Yeah, a little heavy is right. Yeah.
And then, so this is what we call the irons.
Okay.
So the Halligan bar and a flat-headed axe, and this is what we use to be able to get into buildings.
Okay.
So that's what we have in this compartment is all the hand tools that we would need on scene.
So you're listening to everyone in the emergency. They're saying, hey, we need the irons. Let's go.
The nice thing is when we ride with a lot of the same people, we kind of know, and you kind of get on that wavelength of knowing what you need without being said. So they'll be, if they make entry into a building, I'll have a lot of these tools right at the entry to the building for them.
Okay.
So you kind of get into a repetition with each other and know what you're thinking and know what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
Every day we do training. We do anything from with our gear to with the tools, any kind of advanced extrication, any kind of ventilation, really specific job tasks that we have, we try to do every day.
And that's what you're doing here in between calls?
Yes. So this is where the crew sits in the truck. We're all seated, we have our air packs, everybody has their gear, then this is a lot of the tools that we use, radios, this here is a thermal imaging device, so each member has their own thermal imaging device.
Wow.
So this allows us to see heat signatures, it allows us to be able to find the fire a little bit faster and be able to do our jobs a little easier when it's in a smoky environment.
And the air packs are ready to go, it looks like.
Yes.
So you just throw those on, that's the last thing you do before you jump out? Or?
Yes, we'll be seatbelted, and when we get there we'll have the pack on, ready to go, and then we hop out, and then everything's ready to go.
This has been an incredible experience. Thank you so much for letting me come and see and get a tour of the truck. It's really been amazing.
Thank you for coming and look at it.
You are 1 minute away from seeing the finished product.
If you have the desire to serve, the courage to act, and the ability to perform, the Spring Fire Department wants you to volunteer with us. Learn how to volunteer with us at springfd.org/volunteer.
The bonds of fellowship are one of the fundamental cornerstones of human society. Every culture that is or has ever been has based the value of their existence on wars they waged, the art they created, and the dishes they served. So is the story of the American experience, a culturally chaotic land of misfits whose most unifying moments often come at the dinner table. And of all the old world methods of creating meals, only one encompasses American unity. It's the time spent on a grill and the food pulled from it.
It's been 8 to 10 hours now. Let's unfold this beauty and see what you've created. It smells so unbelievably good in here. And you did wrap it. That was one part we didn't get to show this morning. And what goes into the wrapping of this?
I smoke my brisket for about 4 to 4.5 hours, and then I take it off and wrap it.
Okay.
So when you're wrapping, you just want to make sure you're wrapping in layers because you want to protect the brisket because it's going to sit and steam in its own juices, but also you want to keep the juices inside the foil.
Ah, and you have a little personal account of why that is important, if you care to share.
About 2-3 years ago, I had some foil break, and the grease came out, and I was barefoot while cooking a brisket, and I went on my left foot, and I was out of work for about a month.
Oh,
Second degree burns, ER trip. It wasn't fun. So,
wow.
for anybody watching, I would say make sure your wrap job is good, and also wear boots.
Oh, that is great advice.
Don't wear flip-flops, don't wear Crocs, don't go barefoot.
Smart. And I'm glad you're okay, but did the brisket come out okay?
It came out pretty good.
Okay, look at. All right, let's see how you did this time. It smells amazing, so you definitely have those points going for you. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Look at the color.
That has a lot to do with the paprika, like we talked this morning, and also the smoke.
Now, are you going to cut this right away, or there's a rest phase, right?
So as much as we want to, it needs to sit and rest for a minute.
Okay, it's been through a lot.
It's been through a lot.
Take a little break. All right, so what are we talking for another couple of minutes or?
About 30 minutes or so.
Okay. All right, there's a specific way to cut this now, right?
You want to cut against the grain. You don't want to just go hacking on this.
So why do you slice it against the grain?
That's the way I was taught. That's the way my dad told me to do it.
Don't ask questions. That's just the way
I say yes, sir. But I think it does make a prettier piece of meat, a better presentation.
And then you've got this smoke ring, which is interesting to mention too.
Yeah, you definitely want to get a good smoke ring. Some people like a thicker smoke ring on their brisket. It's all personal preference. Like I said, I did this one at 4 hours before I wrapped it. Had I let it sit longer just in the smoke, we'd have a deeper smoke ring.
Oh, interesting. And that changes the flavor?
It'll change the flavor a little bit, yeah.
Okay, can I try it now?
Absolutely.
Or are you going to just keep torturing me forever? Give me some of this. Ready? Cheers.
Cheers. It's edible.
Oh, it's so good.
It's edible.
It is so juicy. It is so satisfying, and it's just, the flavor is awesome. I feel like I'm feeling a little bit more sweetness. Is that the right?
That's about right. Now the flavors are starting to work with the meat itself.
Yeah. Wow.
The flavors of the
it's
seasoning.
Incredible. I want some mashed potatoes now. I want all the sides. Can I come hang out?
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime.
All right. Set the table.
Well, Captain Weiman, thank you so much for having us here today. I mean, this was an incredible work of art, and you should be so incredibly proud of yourself and very confident. Also, I know you know that, but it's a taxing thing to do, as we've all seen now. I just want to keep picking at it. It's really good. It just melts your mouth. And I know this is only one way to do this.
This is one way to do it. This is how I do it. That doesn't make me 100% right. It's just it's what works for me, and it's what my guys at the station like, and what my family likes. So anybody that's going to do this at home, I'd say experiment. Do what makes you happy on your recipe. Find out what you like and go with it.
I'm no expert, but it definitely works for me too. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was just an honor. Thanks for welcoming us into the firehouse.
Anytime.
And hopefully everyone learned something new about Texas brisket. This is the way to do it. You heard it from the expert. We'll see you back here next time. Bye, y'all. All right, cut me some more. Come on. I need some more of this. Hey, Page Brothers.
How's it going?
Cooking?
How are you doing?
Good. How are y'all? Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Glad to be here.
David. And burgers.
Yep.
Let's get to work.
I had stage 2 testicular cancer. Was treated, did chemo, cured, and back to work. Everything's good. It's been 3 years yesterday.
So burgers are on the grill. Lunch is going to be served in a couple of minutes. So I think we're going to start focusing on supper, right?
Yep.
Okay, what you got?
Dinner tonight's prime rib.
All right, can we dig in?
Absolutely.
Are we ready? All right, let's go, y'all. Come on, everybody grab a bite.